It was a bright morning at the small music academy, and the hall was buzzing with quiet excitement. Chairs were arranged neatly in rows, and a grand piano stood at the center of the stage, its polished surface gleaming under the sunlight that streamed through the tall windows. Students, teachers, and a few guests had gathered for the weekly recital, but today felt different. There was a tension in the air, something that hinted that this would not be an ordinary performance. Among the students, a young woman quietly made her way through the hall. She was not loud or attention-seeking. She moved with calm confidence, her hands resting lightly on the small music folder she carried. Despite her quiet nature, she had a presence that made people notice her without effort. Today, she was dressed simply, wearing a soft blue dress that flowed just enough to catch the light when she moved. Her hair was tied neatly, and her eyes were focused yet calm. She had been preparing for weeks, practicing in her small room where the only sounds were the notes she coaxed from her piano and the soft ticking of the clock. She had a secret gift, a talent that very few knew about, and today it would be tested in front of an audience who thought they already knew her limits. At the far side of the hall, a male student, known for his skill and pride, was watching the young woman. He was taller, with a confident posture and a smirk that suggested he enjoyed being the center of attention. He had already performed a few pieces that left the audience impressed, and he liked to think of himself as untouchable. When he saw the young woman approaching, a mischievous idea crossed his mind. He leaned toward a friend beside him and whispered, loud enough for a few people to hear, "Let's see if she can even get through the first few notes." His tone was mocking, and it immediately set a ripple of curiosity and tension across the hall. People exchanged looks, wondering what he meant. The audience had seen many talented students perform, but the idea that someone might fail so spectacularly in front of everyone added an unusual thrill. The young woman paused for a moment near the piano. She placed her folder on the small stand and opened it carefully, revealing the sheet music she had chosen. Her fingers hovered above the keys, light and steady. She had heard the whispers and the slight laughter from the other student, but she did not let it shake her. Deep down, she had known this day might come. Not everyone was kind, and some people enjoyed trying to bring others down to feel better about themselves. She had faced doubt before, in classrooms and small gatherings, but she had learned to let her music speak louder than words. Today, she would do the same. The audience settled as the teacher in charge of the recital nodded toward her, signaling that it was her turn. The hall became quiet except for the soft shuffle of papers and the gentle breathing of those who were waiting. She lifted her hands and let them rest lightly on the keys. The first note was played carefully, almost shyly, yet it had a clear tone that resonated across the room. There was a pause, a moment where everyone held their breath. Some students leaned forward, curious. The male student at the back chuckled under his breath, confident that she would stumble soon. But the second note surprised everyone. It was precise, flowing into the next with a confidence that seemed to grow with every sound. Her fingers moved smoothly, as if the piano was an extension of her own thoughts. The piece she had chosen was known to be difficult, with complex transitions and fast movements. Yet she navigated it with a skill that only came from countless hours of practice and dedication. The audience began to shift in their seats, some frowning in concentration, others widening their eyes in quiet amazement. The room was no longer just a hall for a recital. It had become a place where something extraordinary was starting to unfold. The male student's smirk began to fade. He leaned forward slightly, squinting at her hands. How could someone so quiet, someone he had always overlooked, play with such ease and precision? There was a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes, the first crack in his confident facade. He tried to regain composure, but each note the young woman played seemed to undermine him. The melody was delicate yet powerful, filled with emotion and technical mastery. It told a story without words, a story of perseverance, of someone who had spent years perfecting a craft, quietly, away from the spotlight. Meanwhile, the audience was drawn in completely. Teachers exchanged impressed looks, whispering softly to one another. Some of the younger students leaned closer to see her hands, amazed at how fast and accurate her fingers moved. The The music filled the hall, wrapping around every listener, carrying them along with the rhythm and emotion. Even those who had come expecting a small, simple performance were now captivated, unable to look away. She had reached the middle section of the piece where the tempo increased and the notes became more challenging. Here, many students might have faltered, missing a beat or hitting a wrong note. But she played on without hesitation, her concentration absolute. Her breathing was steady, and her eyes were focused not on the audience, not on the mocking student, but on the piano itself. Each note was precise, each chord resonated with clarity, and the melody seemed to take on a life of its own. It was as though the piano was speaking through her, telling a story only she could fully express. The audience could feel it too. Their eyes glistened, and their hearts seemed to beat in time with the music. By now, the room was silent except for the music. Even the male student who had tried to embarrass her had stopped laughing. His arms rested on the back of the chair in front of him, his jaw tight, as he watched, unable to look away. He had expected a failure, a moment of ridicule, and instead, he witnessed something far more powerful. It was not just skill. It was confidence, it was artistry, and it was a quiet strength that he could not deny. As she continued, the young woman felt a sense of calm and joy. This was what she had been preparing for. The tension that had surrounded her earlier now seemed distant, almost irrelevant. Her music was in full control, flowing freely from her mind to her hands, from her hands to the keys, and from the keys into the hearts of everyone in the hall. Each note was intentional, each pause meaningful. She was not just playing a piece of music. She was telling her own story, one that no one had expected but everyone was now witnessing. The first part of the piece ended with a soft, lingering chord. The hall remained quiet for a moment, caught between disbelief and awe. She lifted her hands slowly, letting the silence hang before the applause broke out. It started with a few teachers, then students, and finally the entire hall erupted in claps and cheers. People were on their feet, applauding not only the technical skill but the emotion, the courage, and the grace with which she had performed. The young woman allowed herself a small, humble smile, a quiet acknowledgement of the journey that had brought her here. The male student who had tried to embarrass her could no longer hide his shock. His face showed a mixture of surprise and respect, emotions he had rarely experienced in such a direct way. For the first time, he realized that talent could not be mocked, that skill earned through dedication was something that demanded admiration, no matter how confident he had been. As she left the stage, some of the younger students ran up to her, asking questions about how she had learned such a difficult piece. Teachers offered kind words and encouragement. Even those who had doubted her earlier now looked at her with admiration and respect. She quietly thanked everyone, her heart full, knowing that this was only the beginning. There would be more challenges, more performances, but today she had proven something important, not just to others but to herself. Walking away from the piano, she felt a sense of peace. She had faced the challenge head-on, had not faltered under pressure, and had transformed a moment meant to embarrass her into one of triumph. The Music Academy, usually a place of quiet lessons and predictable recitals, had witnessed something extraordinary, and she knew, deep inside, that this was only the first step in a journey that would reveal her true potential, one note at a time. After the applause had died down, the young woman walked quietly to the side of the hall, her heart still beating with excitement and relief. She could hear whispers of admiration from the audience, and some students were still pointing toward the stage, talking about the performance they had just witnessed. Despite the attention, she remained calm, almost as if she wanted to savor the moment alone. She had worked hard for this, and now, seeing the reaction of everyone, she felt a mixture of pride and gratitude. In a corner of the hall, her friends who had been watching anxiously rushed to her side. They hugged her and offered congratulations, their voices filled with genuine joy. "That was amazing," one of them said, eyes wide with admiration. "I didn't know you could play like that." The young woman smiled and thanked them quietly. She did not need to boast. The music had already spoken for her. It was in moments like these that she realized how much her hard work had paid off, even when no one was watching. The countless hours spent practicing alone in her room, learning each piece note by note, had led to this moment of recognition. Meanwhile, the male student who had tried to embarrass her was sitting in his chair, staring at the stage as if trying to understand what had just happened. He was not used to being proven wrong, and this situation left him unsettled. For the first time, he felt a twinge of respect mixed with confusion. He realized that talent and dedication were not something he could challenge with arrogance alone. As he watched her quietly speak to her friends, he could see the quiet confidence she carried. There was no need for her to shout or boast. Her music had already made the statement for her. The teachers approached her next, their faces bright with smiles. "You played beautifully," one said. "Not only technically perfect, but with such feeling. You made the piece your own." She nodded, accepting the praise with humility. She knew she had done her best, and that was enough. Teachers often spoke highly of students who showed both skill and heart in their performance, and today she had displayed both. The recognition, however, was not something she sought. What mattered most to her was the sense of accomplishment and the connection she had created through her music. As the recital continued, other students performed their pieces, but the atmosphere had changed. Everyone who had witnessed her performance could not stop talking about it. Some students whispered among themselves, sharing their amazement and wondering how someone so quiet could play so powerfully. The hall that had once felt ordinary now seemed charged with energy, inspired by her courage and skill. Even those who had come expecting a simple recital were captivated. The young woman, sitting quietly at the side, observed the reactions with a small, satisfied smile. She knew she had made a mark, one that would be remembered. Later that afternoon, she returned to her practice room. She needed a moment alone to reflect and prepare for the next performance. The room was quiet except for the soft ticking of the clock and the faint hum of her thoughts. She sat at her piano, running her fingers lightly over the keys, thinking about the challenge she had faced and how she had overcome it. The memory of the male student's attempt to embarrass her no longer bothered her. Instead, it had become a reminder of why she worked so hard in the first place. Life would always have challenges, and sometimes people would try to bring you down. What mattered was how you responded. She thought back to the piece she had just played. It had been difficult, full of technical demands and rapid transitions that required both precision and emotion. There had been moments when she had doubted herself, wondering if she would make it through the faster sections without faltering. But she had pushed through, focusing on each note, each chord, until the music flowed naturally. That experience reinforced a lesson she had learned long ago. Preparation and perseverance were the keys to overcoming any challenge. Talent alone was not enough. It had to be paired with dedication and practice. Her mind wandered to her past, to the long hours she had spent practicing in solitude. She remembered the quiet evenings when the house was silent, and the only sounds were the notes she played and the occasional creak of the floorboards. Her parents had always supported her, but they had never fully understood the depth of her passion. They had encouraged her to study and pursue practical paths, but she had chosen to follow her love for music anyway. Each day spent at the piano had brought her closer to moments like this, where all the effort finally paid off in a way that others could see and appreciate. As she reflected, she also thought about the students who had tried to challenge her. Some of them, like the male student, had used arrogance to hide their insecurities. She understood that, but she also knew that responding with anger or resentment would not have helped. By focusing on her own skill and determination, she had turned a potential humiliation into a triumph. It was a small victory in the larger journey of life, but one that would strengthen her confidence for future challenges. The following day at the academy, the young woman noticed a change in the way people looked at her. Students who had previously ignored her or underestimated her began to show a newfound respect. Teachers spoke to her with encouragement, offering opportunities to perform in upcoming events. Even the male student approached her, hesitating for a moment before saying, "I didn't expect that. You really are talented." She nodded politely, choosing not to respond with pride or boastfulness. Instead, she allowed her music to speak for her, knowing that actions often said more than words. In the days that followed, she continued to practice diligently. The performance had been a significant milestone, but she knew it was only the beginning. There were more pieces to master, more challenges to face, and more opportunities to share her talent with others. Each day, she approached the piano with the same dedication and passion, understanding that growth required consistent effort. The applause and recognition were gratifying, but they were secondary to the personal satisfaction she gained from improving and expressing herself through music. Her confidence grew, not in arrogance, but in a quiet assurance that she could handle whatever came her way. She understood that true strength was not about proving others wrong, but about believing in oneself and working tirelessly toward one's goals. The challenge she had faced at the recital had reinforced this belief, showing her that even when others tried to undermine her, she could rise above with grace and skill. Each note she played was a reminder of her dedication and her ability to overcome obstacles. One afternoon, she received a note from one of the teachers who had watched her performance. It read, "Your last performance was remarkable. You have a rare gift, and it is a joy to see you share it with others. Keep pursuing your passion, and you will achieve great things." She smiled as she read the words, feeling a sense of validation and encouragement. Recognition from someone she respected was meaningful, but what mattered most was the knowledge that she had stayed true to her path and had worked hard to reach this moment. As she sat at her piano that evening, she reflected on the journey that had brought her here. From the quiet practice sessions in her room to the unexpected challenge from a classmate, each experience had taught her something valuable. She had learned the importance of focus, the power of perseverance, and the joy of expressing herself through music. The path ahead was still long, with many more pieces to master and performances to give, but she felt ready. She knew that no matter what challenges arose, she could face them with skill, patience, and determination. Her story was not just about music. It was about resilience, courage, and the quiet strength that comes from believing in oneself. Each note she played was a testament to her journey, a reflection of the effort, dedication, and passion that had shaped her into the musician she was becoming. And as she played, the melody carried not only her skill but also her story, touching the hearts of anyone who listened. It was a reminder that even in moments when others try to diminish you, your own dedication and talent can shine through, turning doubt into inspiration and challenge into triumph. The next recital at the Academy was even more crowded than the last. Word had spread about the young woman's remarkable performance, and people were eager to see her play again. She arrived early, quietly taking her place among the other performers. Her calm demeanor caught the attention of some of the students who had previously doubted her. They whispered excitedly among themselves, watching as she prepared her sheet music and tuned the piano. She did not seek attention, but it seemed to find her wherever she went. The male student who had tried to embarrass her last time was also present. He sat stiffly in his seat, his eyes fixed on her, unsure of how to react. The memory of his failed attempt still lingered in his mind, and he could feel the unease growing as he watched her prepare. He had always relied on confidence and bravado to dominate the stage, but she had shown him that skill and determination mattered far more than arrogance. His friends noticed his tension and whispered to each other, surprised to see him so unsettled. As the recital began, the young woman's turn approached once more. She walked toward the piano with the same quiet confidence as before, her hands resting lightly on the keys. The audience grew silent, anticipation hanging thick in the air. She opened her music folder and glanced at the sheet music, taking a deep breath before beginning. The first note rang out clearly, steady and pure, immediately capturing the attention of everyone in the room. There was a moment of suspense as the audience waited to see if she would falter under the weight of expectation, but she continued without hesitation. Her fingers moved with grace, flowing smoothly across the keys. The piece she had chosen this time was even more challenging than the last, with rapid sequences and intricate harmonies. She played with precision, her hands and mind perfectly synchronized. The audience was mesmerized, watching in awe as each note filled the hall with a rich, vibrant sound. Even the teachers, who had seen countless performances, leaned forward, impressed by her skill and composure. The male student felt a pang of doubt as he watched her play. He had intended to show off and undermine her again, but now he realized that she had grown even stronger since their last encounter. Her performance was not just technically flawless. It was full of emotion and expression. Each phrase told a story, drawing the listeners into her world. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat, feeling both admiration and frustration. For the first time, he recognized that talent could not be intimidated or overshadowed by arrogance. As the piece progressed, the complexity increased. The young woman navigated difficult transitions with ease, her fingers flying over the keys in a blur of motion. The audience gasped softly at particularly challenging sections, amazed by her dexterity and control. She maintained a calm expression, focused entirely on the music, letting it guide her through every note and chord. The hall was completely absorbed, the only sound the piano resonating with clarity and passion. Her mind, however, was not entirely on the technical aspects. She felt a deep connection to the music, as if each note was an extension of her own thoughts and emotions. Memories of her quiet practice sessions, the hours spent perfecting every detail, and the moments of doubt she had overcome came flooding back. All of these experiences had led to this point, allowing her to play with both skill and feeling. The music became a conversation between her and the audience, one that transcended words and captured attention in a way that few other forms of communication could. Some students in the audience, who had once laughed or whispered about her abilities, now sat wide-eyed in admiration. They whispered to each other, marveling at her talent and the confidence she exuded. Even the male student who had tried to embarrass her could not look away. He watched in silence, his usual bravado replaced by respect, mixed with a twinge of regret for underestimating her. He had learned a valuable lesson. True skill and dedication could not be belittled or challenged easily. As the piece approached its most demanding section, the young woman's focus intensified. The notes came faster, requiring precision and coordination, but she remained steady. Her hands moved in perfect harmony with her mind, and she played each chord with intention and clarity. The hall seemed to hold its breath, captivated by the intensity of her performance. Every eye followed her hands, every ear tuned to the music, and the atmosphere became electric with anticipation. When she reached the climax of the piece, her playing soared. The notes were loud yet controlled, powerful yet graceful. The audience felt the emotion in each phrase, the depth of her expression resonating in their hearts. Teachers exchanged impressed glances, recognizing that this performance was exceptional even by the highest standards. The students who had doubted her now found themselves inspired, seeing that talent, combined with perseverance, could achieve extraordinary results. Finally, she reached the final chord. It lingered in the air, filling the hall with a sense of completion and awe. She lifted her hands slowly, letting the silence hang before the applause erupted. The sound of clapping and cheering filled the room, echoing off the walls. People were on their feet, some clapping vigorously, others wiping tears from their eyes. Her performance had touched everyone present, leaving an impression that would not be forgotten. The young woman allowed herself a small, modest smile. She had not sought the attention, but she appreciated the recognition. The applause was gratifying, but what mattered most to her was the sense of fulfillment that came from expressing herself through music. She had faced challenges, overcome doubt, and shared a piece of herself with the world. That, she knew, was the true reward. The male student who had tried to embarrass her approached cautiously after the recital. His usual confident expression was softened by humility. "I didn't think you could play like that," he admitted quietly. She nodded politely, acknowledging his words without gloating. She knew that respect and recognition were more meaningful when given genuinely, without seeking to prove a point. His acknowledgement was a small victory, showing that her talent had not only impressed the audience but also changed the perceptions of those who had doubted her. In the days that followed, the young woman continued to practice and prepare for upcoming performances. The recognition she had received had opened new opportunities, but she remained grounded. She understood that every performance was a chance to improve, to connect with others, and to express herself honestly. Her dedication to her craft had brought her this far, and she knew that consistent effort and passion would carry her further. Her experiences also strengthened her sense of empathy and understanding. She had encountered people who doubted her, tried to challenge her, or acted arrogantly, but she had learned to respond with calm, determination, and grace. She realized that true strength lay in maintaining focus, working hard, and letting actions speak louder than words. This perspective would guide her in future challenges, both on and off the stage. The young woman's story became an inspiration for other students at the academy. Those who had witnessed her performances began to approach their own practice with renewed dedication and motivation. They saw that talent, combined with perseverance and humility, could achieve remarkable results. Her journey encouraged others to pursue their passions wholeheartedly, regardless of obstacles or the opinions of others. As she sat at her piano one evening, reflecting on her progress, she felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The music had become more than just notes on a page. It was a language through which she could express herself, share her story, and inspire others. Each piece she played carried not only technical mastery but also emotion, dedication, and resilience. The journey was ongoing, and she knew that each challenge she faced would help her grow further, both as a musician and as a person. Her confidence had grown, not through arrogance, but through the quiet understanding that she was capable of achieving great things through focus, hard work, and passion. She knew that future performances would bring new challenges, but she was ready. The lessons learned from facing doubt, overcoming obstacles, and earning respect would guide her in every note she played, every stage she stood upon, and every audience she touched. The young woman's journey was a testament to the power of dedication and the importance of believing in oneself. Through music, she had turned doubt into inspiration, challenge into triumph, and hesitation into confidence. Every key she pressed, every chord she played, told a story of resilience, skill, and passion. And as she continued to practice and perform, she knew that her journey was only beginning, with countless opportunities to share her gift with the world and inspire those who listened. The next week brought another performance at the Music Academy, but this time the young woman felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. The audience was larger, and many students had come specifically to see her play. Word of her past performances had spread quickly, and expectations were higher than ever. She arrived early, carrying her sheet music carefully and taking a moment to breathe before stepping onto the stage. She could feel the weight of anticipation, but she had learned to channel that energy into her playing. The hall was filled with murmurs of curiosity and admiration. Teachers whispered about her talent, and students exchanged excited glances, eager to see if she would live up to the growing reputation. Even the male student who had once tried to embarrass her was present, sitting quietly and observing her preparation. There was a subtle tension in the air, a mix of anticipation, excitement, and a hint of uncertainty. Everyone sensed that this performance might be even more remarkable than the last. As she approached the piano, the young woman felt a calm determination settle over her. She had practiced this piece countless times, and she knew that focus and patience would carry her through. She placed her hands on the keys and took a deep breath. The first notes sounded clear and confident, immediately capturing the audience's attention. There was a moment of silence as people waited to see how the performance would unfold. She continued, allowing her fingers to move naturally across the keys, letting the music guide her. The piece she played was one of the most challenging she had ever attempted. It had intricate melodies, fast sequences, and complex harmonies that required precision and control. She had chosen it deliberately, knowing it would test her skills and push her beyond her comfort zone. With each passing measure, she felt more connected to the music, more immersed in the flow of the piece. Her focus was absolute, and the audience was drawn in completely, unable to look away from her hands or the sound that filled the hall. The male student watched with a mixture of fascination and unease. He had once relied on his confidence and skill to dominate, but now he realized that her talent was on a different level. Each note she played was precise, powerful, and full of emotion. Her performance was not only technically perfect but also expressive, telling a story without words. He could feel his own arrogance melting away as he witnessed her mastery. For the first time, he understood that true talent could not be challenged by mockery or intimidation. The audience was captivated. Some leaned forward in their seats, eyes wide with amazement. Teachers nodded appreciatively, impressed by the skill and dedication evident in every note. Even younger students, who had come expecting a simple recital, were mesmerized. They whispered to each other, sharing their awe and excitement. The young woman's performance had transformed the room into a space of wonder and inspiration, where the power of music could be felt deeply by all who listened. As the piece progressed, the tempo increased, and the difficulty intensified. Complex sequences required rapid movement and perfect coordination. She played with grace and confidence, each note resonating with clarity. Her mind and hands worked in perfect harmony, allowing her to navigate the most demanding sections with ease. The hall was silent except for the music, the sound carrying a sense of beauty, emotion, and mastery. Every listener was held captive by the performance, fully immersed in the experience. Her thoughts, however, were entirely on the music. She felt each note as a reflection of her journey, her dedication, and her passion. Memories of late nights spent practicing alone, of moments of doubt and perseverance, all came together in this performance. She had grown stronger with every challenge she faced, and this piece was a testament to her journey. It was not about proving herself to others, but about expressing her dedication and love for music. The audience could sense this authenticity. The performance was not merely a display of technical skill. It was an expression of her soul. The emotion in her playing resonated with everyone present, drawing them into a shared experience. Some teachers whispered words of admiration, recognizing the depth of feeling she conveyed. Students exchanged amazed glances, inspired by the way she transformed a complex, difficult piece into something that felt effortless and natural. The male student who had tried to embarrass her found himself reflecting on his own approach to music. He had relied on skill and confidence but had overlooked the importance of dedication, passion, and humility. Watching her perform had opened his eyes to a new way of understanding talent. He realized that true mastery required not only technical ability but also the heart and perseverance that she had shown. There was a quiet lesson in her performance, one he would not forget. As the piece reached its climax, the young woman's playing became even more intense. The notes flowed with power and precision, each chord carefully balanced and executed. The audience held its breath, caught in the suspense and beauty of the moment. Every eye was on her hands, every ear tuned to the sound, and the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. The music seemed to transcend the physical space, touching the hearts of everyone present. Finally, she reached the final measures. The notes lingered in the air, creating a sense of resolution and fulfillment. She lifted her hands slowly, allowing the last chord to resonate fully before releasing it. There was a moment of silence, as if the hall itself was absorbing the impact of the performance. Then, the applause erupted, loud and enthusiastic. People stood to cheer, clapping and shouting in admiration. Her performance had left a profound impression, one that would be remembered for a long time. She allowed herself a small, humble smile, grateful for the recognition but not seeking it. The joy of performing, of connecting with others through music, was the true reward. She had faced a difficult challenge, performed with skill and emotion, and shared a piece of herself with the world. That sense of fulfillment was something no applause could replace. The male student approached her cautiously after the recital. His usual confidence was softened by humility and respect. "I didn't expect that," he admitted quietly. She nodded politely, accepting his words without gloating. Her focus had always been on the music, not on proving others wrong. His acknowledgement was a quiet validation of her skill and dedication, showing that actions and talent often speak louder than words. In the following days, the young woman continued to practice diligently. She had gained recognition and respect, but she remained grounded. She understood that every performance was an opportunity to improve, to grow, and to share her passion with others. The lessons she had learned from facing doubt, overcoming challenges, and earning respect would guide her in every future performance. Her story began to inspire other students at the academy. They saw her dedication, skill, and humility, and they were motivated to pursue their own passions with renewed effort. She became a quiet role model, demonstrating that success was achieved not through arrogance or boasting, but through consistent hard work, focus, and sincerity. One evening, as she sat at her piano, she reflected on her journey. Each performance, each challenge, had shaped her into the musician she was becoming. The music had become a language through which she could express her thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Every note was a testament to her dedication and perseverance. She understood that the path ahead would have more challenges, but she felt ready. With each piece she played, she continued to grow, confident in her ability to meet whatever obstacles lay ahead. Her performances were not just demonstrations of technical skill. They were expressions of resilience, passion, and heart. Through music, she had found a way to share her story, to inspire others, and to rise above doubt and negativity. Each time she played, she carried with her the lessons of the past, the experiences that had shaped her, and the determination to continue growing. The young woman's journey was a reminder to everyone who watched her that talent combined with dedication and humility could overcome even the greatest challenges. She had faced attempts to belittle her, pressures of expectation, and difficult pieces that tested her skill. Yet she had emerged stronger, more confident, and more inspired. Every performance was an opportunity to connect, to grow, and to inspire, and she embraced each one with heart and determination. As she continued to practice late into the evening, the hall quiet except for the sound of her playing, she knew that this was only the beginning. The journey of music was ongoing, filled with challenges, triumphs, and moments of quiet reflection. With each note, she grew stronger, more expressive, and more connected to the music and the audience. And with each performance, she continued to inspire those around her, proving that talent, perseverance, and passion could create something truly extraordinary. The day of the biggest recital of the season had arrived, and the young woman could feel the excitement in the air. The Music Academy Hall was filled with a larger audience than ever before. Parents, students, and music lovers had gathered to witness the performances, and everyone was buzzing with anticipation. The young woman arrived early, quietly taking a seat near the piano. She had prepared thoroughly, but even with all her practice, a small flutter of nerves was natural. She reminded herself that every performance was a chance to grow, to share her music, and to show her dedication, not to prove herself to anyone. The male student who had once tried to embarrass her was present as well. He sat near the back of the hall, watching her intently. He had attempted to challenge her before, but her skill and composure had left a lasting impression. Today he was both curious and wary. He knew she was capable of something remarkable, and he felt a mix of respect and apprehension as he observed her prepare. He leaned back in his seat, realizing that he could no longer underestimate her. When her turn finally arrived, she walked to the stage with her usual quiet confidence. She placed her sheet music on the stand and let her fingers rest lightly on the keys. The audience was silent, waiting in anticipation. She closed her eyes for a moment, drawing in a deep breath, and then began to play. The first notes sounded pure and steady, immediately capturing everyone's attention. The hall was filled with the rich sound of the piano, each note resonating with clarity and emotion. As she continued, the piece revealed its complexity. Rapid sequences, intricate harmonies, and delicate transitions required focus, precision, and control. She moved through them effortlessly, her fingers dancing across the keys with grace and accuracy. Every note was intentional, every chord deliberate. The audience was completely captivated, leaning forward in their seats to catch every movement. Teachers nodded in appreciation, impressed by the combination of technical skill and expressive depth. The male student watched closely, noticing how naturally she handled the challenges of the piece. He had been confident in his own abilities, but seeing her perform at this level made him reconsider what it meant to truly master an instrument. Her performance was not just about skill. It was about emotion, passion, and connection. She was telling a story without words, and the audience was listening intently. He could feel a sense of humility growing within him, realizing that talent paired with dedication was a force he could not match through arrogance alone. Throughout the performance, the young woman's focus never wavered. She had practiced tirelessly, and that preparation allowed her to navigate the most demanding sections with ease. Her hands moved in perfect coordination, producing a sound that was both powerful and delicate. The music seemed to flow from her heart, carrying with it the years of effort, patience, and practice she had invested. The audience was drawn into the emotion of the piece, experiencing the highs and lows as if they were part of the story themselves. As she reached the climax of the piece, the intensity increased. The notes became faster and more intricate, demanding the utmost concentration. She played each measure with precision and confidence, letting the music guide her. The hall was silent except for the piano, every listener holding their breath in awe. The young woman felt a sense of connection with everyone in the room, her emotions flowing through the music and into the hearts of those listening. This was the moment she had prepared for, and she embraced it fully. The audience was completely captivated. Some whispered to one another, amazed at the skill and expression displayed. Others sat silently, absorbed in the beauty and power of the music. Teachers exchanged impressed glances, recognizing that this performance was exceptional even by professional standards. Students who had doubted her before now found themselves inspired, realizing that dedication, practice, and passion could lead to extraordinary results. The male student who had attempted to embarrass her felt a mix of emotions. He was impressed, humbled, and slightly regretful for underestimating her. Her performance had not only proven her talent but had also demonstrated the power of perseverance and focus. He understood that true mastery was about more than skill or confidence. It required dedication, patience, and a deep love for the craft. Watching her perform was a lesson he would never forget. As the piece approached its conclusion, the young woman's playing became even more expressive. The notes flowed with power, precision, and emotion. Each chord resonated fully, creating a sense of beauty and resolution that captivated the audience. When the final notes lingered and slowly faded, she lifted her hands from the keys, letting the silence hang for a brief moment. Then, the hall erupted in applause. People rose to their feet, clapping and cheering with enthusiasm. Her performance had left an indelible impression on everyone present. She smiled quietly, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. The applause was gratifying, but what mattered most was the knowledge that she had faced a difficult challenge and performed with skill, passion, and composure. She had shared a piece of herself through her music, and the audience had felt it. That connection, that ability to move people through her art, was the true reward. After the recital, the male student approached her once more. His expression had softened, a mixture of respect and humility evident in his eyes. "I didn't realize you could play like that," he admitted quietly. She nodded politely, acknowledging his words without boasting. Her focus had always been on the music, not on proving others wrong. His acknowledgement was meaningful, showing that her dedication and talent had earned genuine respect. In the days that followed, the young woman continued to practice diligently, preparing for future performances. She remained grounded despite the recognition she had received. She understood that every performance was an opportunity to improve, to connect with the audience, and to express her passion. The lessons she had learned from facing challenges, overcoming doubt, and earning respect would guide her in every future endeavor. Her journey also inspired other students at the academy. Those who had witnessed her performances began to approach their own practice with renewed dedication. They saw that talent, combined with perseverance and humility, could achieve remarkable results. She became a quiet role model, demonstrating that success was not about arrogance or seeking attention, but about consistent effort, focus, and genuine love for what you do. As she sat at her piano one evening, reflecting on her progress, she felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Each performance, each challenge, had shaped her into the musician she was becoming. The music had become a way for her to express her emotions, share her story, and inspire others. Every note she played was a testament to her hard work and perseverance. She knew that there would be more challenges ahead, but she felt ready to face them with confidence and dedication. Her performances were not just demonstrations of technical skill. They were expressions of resilience, passion, and heart. Through her music, she had turned doubt into inspiration and challenges into opportunities. Each time she played, she shared her story, connected with her audience, and demonstrated the power of dedication and determination. The young woman's journey was a reminder to everyone who witnessed it that true talent, combined with hard work and humility, could overcome even the most difficult challenges. She had faced attempts to undermine her, pressures of expectation, and pieces that tested her abilities. Yet she had emerged stronger, more confident, and more inspired. Every performance was a chance to grow, to connect, and to inspire, and she embraced each opportunity with heart and determination. As she practiced late into the evening, the hall quiet except for the sound of her playing, she knew that her journey was just beginning. The path of music was filled with challenges, triumphs, and moments of reflection. With each note, she grew stronger, more expressive, and more connected to the music and the audience. And with each performance, she continued to inspire, proving that talent, perseverance, and passion could create something truly extraordinary. The day of the final recital of the season had arrived, and the young woman felt a mixture of anticipation and calm determination. The hall was filled with a larger audience than ever before. People had come from near and far, eager to witness the student who had already become the talk of the academy. Parents, students, teachers, and music enthusiasts filled every seat, and the atmosphere was buzzing with excitement. She arrived early, quietly placing her sheet music on the piano and taking a deep breath. This was the moment she had been preparing for all season, a moment to showcase not only her skill but also her growth as a musician. The male student who had previously tried to embarrass her was in attendance as well. He watched quietly from the back, aware that her reputation had grown and that she had earned the respect of nearly everyone at the academy. He had learned a lesson in humility, realizing that arrogance alone could not overshadow talent and dedication. Today, he was curious and perhaps a little nervous, wondering what she would accomplish in this final performance. When it was her turn, she walked onto the stage with her usual calm confidence. She placed her hands on the keys, took a deep breath, and allowed the first note to resonate through the hall. The sound was clear and full, immediately capturing the attention of the audience. There was a quiet anticipation as the audience leaned forward, waiting to see how the performance would unfold. Her fingers began to move gracefully, following the music with precision and ease. The piece she had chosen was one of the most challenging she had ever attempted, a composition that demanded technical mastery, emotional expression, and unwavering focus. From the first notes, it was clear that this performance would be extraordinary. Each phrase flowed seamlessly into the next, creating a melody that was both intricate and expressive. The audience watched in awe as her fingers danced across the keys, producing a sound that was powerful, delicate, and full of emotion. Teachers exchanged impressed glances, recognizing the exceptional skill and dedication evident in every note. Students who had once doubted her were now captivated, inspired by the mastery she displayed. The male student observed her performance closely, feeling a mixture of admiration and humility. He had expected talent, but this went beyond skill. It was artistry, dedication, and passion combined. He realized that true musicianship required more than confidence. It required heart, patience, and perseverance. Watching her play, he understood that she had transformed every challenge she faced into an opportunity to grow, and this final performance would be the culmination of all her efforts. As the piece progressed, the complexity increased. Rapid sequences, delicate harmonies, and intricate transitions required complete concentration. She moved through them effortlessly, her hands and mind in perfect harmony. Every note was deliberate, every chord intentional. The audience was completely absorbed, following each movement and listening to every nuance. The music carried emotion and story, allowing everyone in the hall to feel connected to her journey. She thought back to the long hours of practice, the quiet evenings spent perfecting each note, and the moments of doubt she had overcome. All of these experiences had led to this performance. She was not playing to prove herself to anyone. She was playing to express her dedication, her passion, and the growth she had achieved through hard work. The music became a reflection of her journey, a story told through melody and rhythm. The audience felt the depth of her performance. Some whispered in awe, marveling at the precision and beauty of her playing. Others sat silently, captivated by the emotion and power that radiated from her hands. Teachers nodded with appreciation, acknowledging the maturity and artistry she displayed. Students were inspired, realizing that perseverance and passion could overcome doubt and challenges. Even the male student who had once tried to embarrass her found himself reflecting on his own approach to music, understanding that talent was only fully realized through dedication and humility. As she reached the climax of the piece, her playing became even more intense and expressive. The notes flowed with precision and emotion, filling the hall with a sense of awe and anticipation. Each chord resonated fully, creating a moment of beauty that seemed to suspend time. The audience was completely absorbed, holding their breath as they followed the music to its peak. The young woman felt a deep connection to the piano, to the music, and to the audience. Every note was a culmination of her hard work, her focus, and her love for the art. The final section approached, demanding even greater skill and concentration. Her fingers moved rapidly yet gracefully, each note perfectly executed. The hall was silent except for the music, every listener completely captivated. She played with passion, precision, and heart, allowing the music to convey the story of her journey and the dedication that had brought her to this moment. The male student watched in awe, recognizing the depth of talent and determination she possessed. Finally, she reached the last measures. The notes lingered in the air, creating a sense of resolution and fulfillment. She lifted her hands slowly, letting the final chord resonate fully before releasing it. There was a brief silence, as if the hall itself was holding its breath in awe of the performance. Then, the applause erupted. It was loud, enthusiastic, and sustained, filling every corner of the hall. People stood to cheer, clapping and shouting their admiration. Her performance had left an unforgettable impression on everyone present. She smiled quietly, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment and fulfillment. The applause was gratifying, but the true reward was the knowledge that she had faced a tremendous challenge and performed with skill, emotion, and grace. She had shared a piece of herself through her music, and the audience had felt it. That connection, that ability to move people through her art, was the ultimate achievement. The male student approached her after the recital, his expression showing respect and humility. "I never expected you could play like that," he admitted quietly. She nodded politely, acknowledging his words without arrogance. She had never played to impress others. Her focus had always been on the music itself. His acknowledgement was a quiet validation of her skill and dedication, demonstrating that true talent commands respect naturally. In the following days, the young woman reflected on her journey. She had grown through every challenge, every performance, and every moment of doubt she had faced. Her dedication, perseverance, and passion had led her to this point, and she knew that the journey was ongoing. She continued to practice diligently, preparing for future performances, understanding that growth and improvement never truly ended. Each note she played was an opportunity to refine her skills, express herself, and connect with others. Her story inspired many at the academy. Students who had once doubted her began to approach their own practice with renewed motivation. Teachers praised her not only for her technical mastery, but also for the dedication, humility, and passion she displayed. The male student who had once tried to embarrass her reflected on the lessons he had learned, understanding that confidence alone was never enough. True mastery required consistent effort and a genuine love for the craft. As she practiced alone one evening, the young woman felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. Music had become more than a skill. It was a language through which she could express herself, tell her story, and inspire others. Every performance was a chance to share a part of herself, to connect with her audience, and to grow as a musician. She knew that challenges would continue to arise, but she was ready to face them with focus, dedication, and heart. Her journey was a testament to the power of perseverance, the importance of humility, and the value of dedication. She had faced doubt, challenges, and attempts to undermine her, yet she had emerged stronger, more confident, and more inspired. Every performance was an opportunity to shine, to grow, and to inspire those around her. She embraced each one with passion and determination, understanding that talent combined with effort and heart could create something truly extraordinary. The young woman's story was a reminder to everyone that challenges could be transformed into triumphs with patience, focus, and dedication. She had shown that true talent is not just about skill, but also about resilience, perseverance, and the courage to follow one's passion. Through music, she had turned obstacles into opportunities, doubt into inspiration, and potential into achievement. Each note she played carried her story, her growth, and her unwavering commitment to excellence. As she sat at her piano late into the evening, practicing and reflecting on her journey, she felt a sense of anticipation for the future. The road ahead was filled with opportunities, challenges, and moments of discovery. With each performance, she would continue to grow, inspire, and share her gift with the world. Her dedication and passion had brought her this far, and she knew that the best was yet to come. Every note, every chord, and every performance was a step forward, a continuation of a journey that had only just begun.